In Southern Africa, the Gauteng Education Department in South Africa has released its finding into the death of grade 6 pupil Sibusiso Mbatha. The report implicates the deputy principal of the Khehlekile Primary School in Thokoza. Mbatha took his own life last month after allegedly being bullied by a teacher. Meanwhile, the Teddy Bear Clinic Executive Director, Dr. Shaheda, Omar, says the system has failed 12-year-old learner after alleged homophobic bullying by the deputy principal. Dr. Shaheda Omar joins us now to talk more about this. Good afternoon, Mr. Omar. Okay, let me just go straight ahead with my question. What, in your own view, is the specific incident involving the learner who tragically took his own life?
Well, I think if we just look at the whole context, it's very clearly evident that there was failure to follow procedure, processes, protocols, because there are rules and regulations in place where the people involved, implicated, did not adhere to that, did not comply with it. So they failed this learner. Not only did they fail this learner, but there was collusion because people that were overseeing the educator, the HOD, the deputy principal also failed. So there was definitely collusion and complacency, which makes them all complicit in this act. The Children's Act speaks to the legal mandate of reporting any form of abuse, even if there's a doubt or a suspicion. Failure to report is a criminal offense. And we can see here that this is definitely a case of failing the child, where the child's life has ended in a very tragic circumstance, not only affecting the child, affecting the family, affecting other learners, but affecting the whole school environment.
Dr. Shaheda, what specific policies or guidelines or framework do you think exists within the South African educational system to address cases of bullying to protect the rights of learners? Has there been any previous incidents of bullying or mistreatment reported in the school that have sort of raised concerns about the safety of learners?
Indeed, there are policies, and the policies, firstly, there is bullying program. There's zero tolerance for bullying. Schools, because of being plagued by this scourge of violence, of bullying by learners, by educators, by significant others, bullying has been incorporated into the school structure, into the educational institutions. But there's also other legislation. I've mentioned the Children's Act. There's the Protection of Harassment Act, Section 71, which was actually implemented in 2013. And what that act speaks to, that a child actually can apply for a protection order without any consent from an adult, a legal guardian or anything. So I think if we look at the different pieces of legislation, there's the South African Schools Act as well. Then we look at Section 28 of the Constitution, which speaks to the child's right to education, the child's right to safety and protection. And if we look at all these pieces of legislation and put them together, it's clearly apparent that it was not implemented, it was ignored, it was blatantly ignored, costing the life of a child, an innocent child, a 12-year-old who had so much potential to grow, develop, thrive, and make a meaningful contribution to society.
But having said that, Dr. Shaheda, what's in your own opinion, could be the immediate changes or improvement that should be made within the South African educational system to prevent similar incidents from recurring in future?
So immediately, I think we need to respond to the current crisis. Firstly, that justice needs to be pursued. Justice delayed is justice denied. So there needs to be consequence management where actions have consequences, and the 4 implicated educators from the school will have to follow through disciplinary hearings and be brought to book. So immediately that is something that needs to be instituted. However, if we're looking at longer term, in the midterm and long term, that of course there needs to be training on these policies and protocols regularly, consistently, and to ensure that it's monitored by the oversight bodies So training not only to educators, training to the school governing body, the school management support team, supporting staff. So everybody's aware of identifying abuse, the management, the reporting structures, and the legislation that pertains to it. So there is no excuse that can be allowed in the future, but there needs to be rigor in this, even in terms of vetting. We are finding that anyone who applies to a tertiary institution to study for education, to become an educator, a teacher, is actually allowed that opportunity without rigor and stringent measures to screen and vet that person. There needs to be a fit for purpose.
Well, thank you so much for shedding so much light on these, Dr. Shaheda Omar, the Teddy Bear Clinic Executive Director. Thank you so much.